Well, here we are. Day 2, Week 2, Year 8, RPG A Day 2021, otherwise known as Day 9. Day 9 brings us 4 selections. We have medium, we have role, we have emotion, and percentage. And I deliberated with myself about which one I would tackle for today. And I hear you out there, people who say, hey, be like Dave, do all 4. But to this I say, no, I shall not. So I've decided to go with the first on the list today, for reasons which I hope will become apparent. I'm still very curious about what your responses will be, which prompt you will choose, how you will go about choosing it, and most importantly, why, that thing that you want to share about it, which ultimately is the foundation of what we're doing here with this marathon. So, for Day 9, we'll explore the prompt medium. If this is your first time visiting the Casting Shadows podcast, you might be unaware that there is a Casting Shadows blog from which all of this nonsense sprang, and you can read a version of this prompt instead there at castingshadowsblog.com. Or there is a YouTube channel, youtube.com/Runeslinger. And there you'll find a compilation of these audio recordings if you'd like to listen to them in weekly doses for really long commutes, I would gather. Anyway, let's get to medium. With my role as lead editor of the Ubiquity role-playing system lines for Triple Ace Games, these days when I see the word medium, even on the tag inside a shirt, I automatically think of Leagues of Gothic Horror and the dangers and difficulties of being the sort of person who can communicate between the living and the dead. For this post, however, I'll be taking the prompt in a different direction. As a medium, I find RPGs to be extremely satisfying, and satisfying in ways that other media cannot deliver. And I don't mean on an emotional level. I mean on a functional level. I am an avid reader, and I have a strong appreciation for film. And in these delivery mechanisms of fiction, we're passive recipients of characterizations and conflicts. Even in the theater, where there's some sense of community and joint appreciation, we are still receiving a finished product, finished before we ever even entered the room or picked up the book. In these delivery mechanisms of fiction where we are passive, it can be intense and powerful, and a good book or film, I feel, is like a friend we will visit over and over and over again throughout our lives, some more often than others, but they become a part of who we are. I don't mean to sell them short by praising role-playing games, but where I find the specific differences of an RPG to literature or to film, where I find that those differences matter, are our points of potential focus and the more relaxed limitations on length and structure. Ad copy for RPGs almost routinely now uses phrases like "tell a story," and the still included, strangely after all this time, what is a role-playing game section also doubles down on such language. But I find that the truth is that story is just one of the things you might choose to focus on, and even if you don't focus on it, it's going to happen regardless. So there are other things which may suffer, which might be left by the wayside, which might be invisible, which might be neglected, which could benefit from attention that maybe we might want to talk about. And so that's the source of the topic for today. We can focus on other things, such as the perspective and experience of the characters. And this can be done to such an extent that you can step away entirely from the perceived need or habitual interest in maintaining a recognizable consumer-style story structure. And once that has been recognized, the ways in which RPGs differ from other fiction entertainment media starts to stand out more. There's no physical need for film reels or digital storage limitations. There's no page count limitation. There are no chapters. The moments of rising and falling emotion, the moments of crisis and catharsis, the pace of your play, they're all free of these restraints, and not some percentage of freedom, complete freedom. These restraints, while they can be imported from their original medium into that of an RPG and can be greatly enjoyed there, they do not need to be. For one thing, the game never needs to end. The medium of role-playing games allows us to carve out a fictional perspective and occupy that space and use it to explore experiences. And from a certain point of view, that is the very core of the role-playing game experience. That fictional perspective might be me as a teenager granted superpowers, as we could find in Villains and Vigilantes. It might be my personality reskinned as Sir Berenger the Bear, a knight of the Round Table, as we might see in a Pendragon campaign. It might be a personality constructed from a list, based on a fictional character, determined randomly from charts and suggestions, or it might spring into being or creep into being through moments of play, and only take on a cohesive, recognizable form after time and thought allow it. Regardless, this can be the entire focus of play. Who are the characters, and how will they respond to the things they do, cause to happen, and which happen to them? The GM, if there is one, conceives of their role in the game as creating NPCs. The players create PCs, and the group agrees on a setting. Never once do character arcs, story beats, scenes, stories, or planned progressions have to be a part of anyone's play. Such things can be added on top of this base experience to achieve some particular goal of the group, but are not required. The medium does not require them. All of this further puts into focus how mutable, interactive, and collaborative the medium really is. It is not, in any way, passive. It is not just eyes which allow us to see a story unfold. It is not only a pair of wings which allow us to fly to places unseen. It's the alchemical mixture of transmutation, taking our base material and elevating it to a height that even dreams must stretch to reach. Tomorrow, August 10th, a Tuesday, will provide us with 4 more choices of things to talk about. Trust, conscience, light, and advantage. Which will you choose, and why? If you're curious about seeing an example of this play from our archives of actual play videos, then I've posted a link both in the blog entry and in the show notes of this one. An actual play that is primarily about humor, but humor through the lens of who these characters are and how they will react to situations. So, check that out if you're interested. Thank you for listening to the Casting Shadows podcast, an extension of the Casting Shadows blog found at castingshadowsblog.com and of our YouTube channel, which is called Runeslinger.